This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 117. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski, and on today's show, we've got some contract news on Edge, when Luke Harper might be debuting for AEW, as well as a United States champion has been suspended. We'll get the reasons why. Of course, we're going to take a look at AEW, NXT, Raw, SmackDown. Of course, we're going to delve into the Royal Rumble and the fallout from that. And doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the man, he is Becky Lynch. Well, maybe not. He is the Doc, John Macaron. What's up, cuz?
1, 2, you hear the clock ticking, tick tock. You about to stop living, tick tock. I want you to remember me, tick tock. But the dead don't have no memory. I'm coming.
Yeah, MVP returned to the Rumble. MVP. Now, with the return of Edge that shocked everybody, hearing that music, for me, I think for a lot of the wrestling fans, was like, wait a minute, I literally saw MVP out there in Brighton at a...
Oh, you did? That's right.
Yeah, MVP was there.
That's right.
So it was like, wait a minute, MVP now was at the Royal Rumble, and I think that a lot of people showed him a lot of respect, especially the next night on Raw. So for me, Edge, I thought, we'll talk about it, wasn't as big a return because we all kind of knew that it was being talked about. So it had a real good chance, maybe more than 80% of happening. MVP was like a total shock. But so that was cool.
But hold on. You actually thought Edge was going to show up. I didn't think Edge was going to show up. I didn't think there was no way he'd be medically cleared.
Oh, I thought so because it was being talked about. The moment for me was when he actually came out and denied it. I was like, oh, if he's talking about it, being asked about it, done. It's a wrap. I had a good feeling. But I thought, after entrance 17, 18, 19, 20, I was like, okay, it sounds like it's not going to happen. So it was cool to see in the Rumble, and we'll talk all about it. But MVP coming back was really kind of cool.
Yeah, MVP coming out. I was like, oh,
exactly.
I totally got excited.
And they did the family thing there because he's from the area and he's a local guy, and obviously a guy that has history with the WWE. And his son's 5 years old, got a chance to see him wrestle. He's established a relationship with Rey Mysterio backstage. So all in all, it was good for him. A good weekend for MVP. And when I heard his music, I'm like, wait a minute. They didn't start it at the part where I always remembered it. I always remembered that first little part with the TikTok and the way that music would hit when it was time. He had a good run in WWE, and good for MVP, man. It was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. SmackDown had a little bit of a flat build to get to the Royal Rumble.
It wasn't as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too. Especially the night before, essentially. And basically, this is what this is. You're almost 28 hours, 29 hours before the actual Royal Rumble itself, and you kind of gave us that. There wasn't a whole lot to really take away from there. Wasn't a whole lot to really talk about. Now, I think what we really need to delve into, though, is the Royal Rumble, because I thought it was a good Royal Rumble. I enjoyed it. I thought it could have been better, and I was really surprised with some of the finishes and how they kind of went about it. So in our pre-show, we got Sheamus defeating Shorty G. I don't think anybody was really surprised by that. Andrade ended defeating Carlillo. Again, don't really think anybody was really surprised by that either. The one thing that shocked me was how it ended. You end up ending a championship title belt on what is essentially a roll-up. And that's not the first time we'll see that. And I know that bothers you. It bothered me when I seen it. I was like, this is like the worst way to end this match, because it was a really good match. So then we get to our main card, and Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin are the curtain jerk. Reigns defeats Corbin. I thought this was a solid match. I thought this basically continued that story and helped complete most of it. I'm not sure if we're going to be done with it. We might see how this is going to go on SmackDown this Friday. But overall, I thought this was a really, really good match. I know both you and I had Corbin winning this match. So when Reigns won it, I think both of us a little bit surprised. And I'll be honest with you, when Reigns got the 1, 2, 3, out loud I said, well, Corbin is just going to be one of these mid-card heels. Because
exactly.
That's how I feel about it.
Exactly. What are you waiting for? This is a heel that you could have established right then and there by doing heelish type stuff. Did it happen? No. And I thought it was disappointing in that it was a good match, yes, but I think the wrong guy went over.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns established. I think that you could have extended the feud maybe even to WrestleMania had you done something hellacious with Baron Corbin doing something, to cheat, hanging him up, into the ropes, or doing something that was really what heels do. But at the end, they went with the face getting over on the heel, and it's fine. But for Baron Corbin's character, it doesn't help. It doesn't give him credibility.
It kind of flatlines him, and he was actually ascending. And he was doing a really, really good job. So I think this just kind of cools him off a little bit. Charlotte Flair ends up winning the Royal Rumble. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Women's Royal Rumble. We had an opportunity for something really, really cool and something really, really interesting here. You ended up with Shayna Baszler and Charlotte Flair in the ring. And can we just talk real quick, too, about Beth Phoenix in the back of her head bleeding all over the place? Like that was insane. I don't know where she got cut. I don't know where she got busted open. But there was so much blood, and it was like leaking all over. Like Charlotte had her nose busted open. Kind of sloppy in the Royal Rumble with the ladies getting beat up. But you had a really nice spot where Shayna Baszler versus Charlotte Flair, it comes down to them two. And it wasn't the best back and forth between the two competitors. It was a little bit sloppy. I'm happy Charlotte Flair won because it helped me in the predictions. But as far as the storyline goes, I don't know why Shayna Baszler doesn't win this match, because what would it end up doing would it give her the opportunity to go challenge, say, Becky Lynch or say Bayley. So she instantly jumps in with a story. You could do whatever you want with the human default for the women's side of wrestling with Charlotte Flair. You can do whatever you want with her.
To be accurate, Charlotte had never won the Rumble before. So this was an opportunity for her to kind of, give her the credibility.
We're going to check it off the list.
Exactly. In terms of accolades, a woman like Charlotte has to win the Royal Rumble at least once. But here's the thing. In this situation, this year wasn't the year. Right. You're right.
But here's the thing. How much more interesting is it if you start talking about her never winning the Royal Rumble? Like, that becomes the thing.
You could have extended it out and tell a story that she does it in year 8, 9, 10 later on.
That becomes the thing. That's the one thing that has eluded her entire career.
Her first win cheapened because you could have told a better story.
Right.
She's going to get it eventually.
Exactly.
There's no doubt she's going to have all the accolades. She's going to win Hell in a Cell. She's going to win probably 30 titles in her career. Why not tell this one story of, hey, she can't do it? Yeah, exactly. What a great idea, cuz you could have had it where, for a couple years she's the last person in and she's right there about to throw someone over, and then it would mean a lot more the 8th or 9th try where she actually gets it. It would have meant something. And probably would have got a big pop to send her into the stratosphere.
Exactly. And
so now it just feels cheap. It feels forced, right?
Right. And Shane, you could have done so much more with Shayna Baszler. I thought Shayna Baszler should have won this, and because go back and look at Shayna Baszler's run in NXT. You remember when Asuka came up from NXT? Asuka was undefeatable until she met Charlotte Flair. And then it was like, oh, okay, cool. So like none of that was believable, And then you have Shayna Baszler, who is this badass MMA fighter who just ran roughshod in NXT, and now she loses to Charlotte. It's just bad storytelling is what it is.
And by all accounts, those that were watching the Women's Royal Rumble, they definitely noticed that it was heavily influenced by NXT. And you realized, wow, the women that were a part of the Raw roster and SmackDown roster really didn't make really all that much of memories. It was basically a bunch of, NXT women headlined by Bianca Belair. She's the one that I think came away. She's the one whose stock rose the highest. And I guess that was intended, but you really could have felt like with Naomi, with Natty, with others that were in that Rumble that, it just kind of highlights the fact that the women are kind of as compared to NXT, especially with the sheer number of women that were entered from NXT.
Bianca Belair was outstanding.
She was good.
She was fantastic. I loved her in the Royal Rumble. It was great. And she just kept throwing women over the top rope. It was incredible. It was great. Bayley defeats Lacey Evans. A little bit shocked here. I don't really know where we go with Lacey's character. I'm not really sure what we're going to end up doing with Bayley.
She'll still be on the grind, trying to. I think Lacey deserves a little bit more time to be on the grind, so no problem there. I think we both had Lacey thinking about, and I understand it, but sometimes you got to just build that grind for Lacey, and this is a situation where she's still going to have a massive 2020, and eventually she's going to have the title. Just wasn't at the Rumble.
This was another one where it was kind of a roll up out of nowhere for a win, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like how lame. You have all this great work by Lacey Evans for weeks, months, just building to this one match, and then you end it with a roll up. Yeah. And I was just kind of like, how do you book this into oblivion? Like they've done such good work, and this was a match that I was legitimately interested in, and yet you do that. It didn't make any sense to me. The Fiend beat Daniel Bryan. I don't think neither one of us were shocked by this. I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was fun seeing a strap match. Again, we haven't seen one of these in years in WWE, so this was really, really cool. Becky Lynch defeats Asuka. I thought this was a good match. I thought this was probably one of Asuka's best matches since she's become a tag team with Kairi Sane. Becky Lynch, I think this was one of her better matches between either one of those two competitors. So I thought this was a really good way to move on past this feud. And again, Asuka was the one thing Becky Lynch couldn't overcome. Becky Lynch overcame it. Again, there's a story there just because of the few times that they have met. Asuka has always had the upper hand. So I thought this was a nice way to kind of cap that.
Tied up with the bow perfectly. I thought the matches that you described were pretty good. But I think for both of us, we really were impressed with the men's Royal Rumble. And as it should have been, the last match on the card started off with Brock Lesnar. And I think, what did we say on last week's podcast? Let's just hope that the Rumble keeps us intrigued, has some moments, has some things that will actually pay it off for the fans. And this Rumble, start to finish, was heads and tails way better than last year's, and it was great from start to finish.
See, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the opposite side of you.
I loved it.
I know you did. Because I thought it was boring watching Brock Lesnar just obliterate everybody.
Because it told the story of, oh my God, they're actually going to do it where he's going to destroy all the people. But by doing that, you establish him as, okay, this is the legitimate monster, and then you have the moments where you can get him one-on-one with Keith Lee.
Yeah. With
those people.
Because of that, you did have moments.
Yes.
And your moment with Keith Lee was, me and you both talked about it, I think, for 2 days after the Royal Rumble.
It was awesome.
It was fantastic. Watching both of these behemoth men just go eye to eye with each other and just stand there face to face. Thought it was great.
And you also got to remember the small stuff too. As Keith Lee's walking to the ring, one of the shots you see is Brock Lesnar kind of standing up and looking, going, "Who's this dude?"
Yeah.
And you realize, wow, when they stand next to each other, and the announcer said, "Yeah, Keith Lee is large. Is larger than life himself." Mm-hmm. Keith Lee is almost as big as Brock Lesnar. Yeah. So you realize, wow, Keith Lee has the potential to stand in the ring across from Brock Lesnar, and it's believable. He's a badass dude. Mm-hmm. And then his wrestling, he put Brock Lesnar down, and I think that's what a guy, when you make him over that big, when he takes bumps from Keith Lee, you establish Keith Lee, and it made him. And that's part of the reason why I think Brock Lesnar was made in that Royal Rumble to appear to be a monster. Now, some people did, and I'll ask you this, some people did take offense that they interpreted that, okay, the 14 or 15 dudes that got eliminated were devalued because basically their time in the ring, like MVP, like Kofi Kingston. John Morrison was in and out pretty quickly. Did they get devalued? If you're one of those guys and you're told, okay, this is your Rumble and your role is to be fodder for Brock Lesnar 2 minutes, do you go, wow, this is what the company thinks of me? Whereas the guys in the second half, maybe more respected, maybe more, along the lines of Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, those that were starting to come 15 on, maybe are viewed by the company as more of the top guys. I would be. I mean, you can't help but notice that a lot of these guys only got a minute with Brock Lesnar. But I would say this, when you get a chance to be in the Royal Rumble, sometimes by looking at your position, you just got to fight and claw and get yourself over, no matter what it takes, whether it be saying something, doing something in the ring. I don't take too much stock in, hey, who got eliminated at what point in the Rumble. Eventually speaking, you knew it was Drew McIntyre's Rumble, and you have to get through it because you can't, if the match goes on and on and on, you have 40 people, you have 30 people in the ring, it's going to go on for an hour and a half.
Right.
They got to get people out within moments. So, it doesn't look good for New Day and Kofi. He got some stuff in, but, he was pretty much ousted pretty quickly, as well as MVP. It was like an entrance. It was cool, and then he walked out, and that was a wrap.
Yeah, more awesome moments in the men's Royal Rumble. Of course, Edge debuting,
21
re-debuting. I thought that was fantastic. I loved his interaction with Randy Orton. I love when Randy came to the ring and was basically like, "Bro, you got abs." And he was like, "Yeah, you too." Like they had that back and forth, and they kind of teamed up and reunited a little bit of a rated RKO. I thought it was fantastic. Edge throwing Randy over the top rope. I thought that was great. That built into Monday. You knew after Drew McIntyre eliminated Brock Lesnar, it was his Royal Rumble. It was his. And it was fantastic watching him stand over Brock Lesnar when Lesnar was on the outside of the ring looking up at Drew McIntyre, who was in the ring looking down upon him. I thought that was a fantastic moment.
Claymore over the top, huh? That was awesome. Great. It was awesome.
Overall, I thought the Royal Rumble was pretty good. I was really surprised that we didn't have more surprise entrances. You didn't get, every now and then you'll get this just crazy pop of like somebody just showing up, and you didn't really get that this year. There were a couple people from NXT who came up. I assumed we would have got more of them. We got less. It was kind of weird to me this year that you didn't have more people kind of filling in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, especially when you look at it, you could have went and gone and found some people. I don't know. Was there anybody in mind that you thought about that's been in the ring for a minute? Maybe Kurt Hawkins, maybe the B team, someone maybe that hasn't been utilized. I don't think there's really too many outside of former wrestlers that you could have really said was going to draw a reaction. I know that's what people like, but bringing in MVP was okay. Beth Phoenix, they went the easy route with the hometown people. Maybe if you wanted to do a Booker T, if you wanted to keep it local.
I don't really think we need to see Booker T.
No more Booker T?
No, I think we're good. I think we're really good.
That's funny.
So I ended up getting 6 of the predictions correct. I got both of the Royal Rumble matches
good for
right.
You, man.
And you ended up getting 4 correct.
So the matches, none of the Rumbles.
Right.
They didn't tell my story. They told their own story.
They told my story.
They told your story.
So it's 2-1 as far as the predictions go. You still have the slight edge there. So then we move into Monday Night Raw. And we were kind of on pins and needles for, I think, most of the evening because they kept telling us Edge was going to appear. Edge was going to appear.
Like 40 times.
And we're all
Edge was going to appear?
We're all just kind of waiting for it. And then what you got, the final 15, 20 minutes of Monday Night Raw was a masterpiece.
Best of the decade, best of the year, probably best in the last 12 months in terms of the emotional connection. Like, no.
I like how the decade just started.
Exactly.
But no, I thought, again, this was fantastic. You had 2 guys selling a promo and selling a match that's going to take place in a few months at the most elite level. Edge being brought to tears in the ring, Randy Orton coming out and essentially foreshadowing what he was about to do, and basically the whole setup to him taking out Edge to build towards WrestleMania. And then you've seen him being conflicted as he's going through this assault on Edge and trying to figure out how he wants to concerto him and what he wants to do and how he wants to basically obliterate him. I thought this was fantastic. This was some of the best work by Randy Orton in such a long time. And for Edge, to see Edge in the ring again and to cut a promo that was so unscripted and so natural, it was fantastic.
It was great. It was definitely, and you and I messaged back and forth. We were like, wow, this is already the top feud that we want to see. We want to see the payoff, and we want to see, potentially speaking now, Edge is going to get over. You don't bring him back and then have him lose this feud. You just want to see the back and forth with the payoff at WrestleMania. Randy Orton's established, and that's what happens is the heel in this situation does heel type stuff. He kicks off the feud, and you could argue too that the next time that Randy speaks, he'll say, look, you brought this on. You eliminated me and cost me an opportunity for the thing that I love the most, you outsider. You're the one that crossed the line first. We were partners, and you betrayed me, and I should have known it, like he said in the Rumble. But you started it, and I'm going to finish it. I'm the Viper. And that WrestleMania match will be a moment, and already starts to feel like, oh, wow.
We got a big match. Did you just write his promo?
Of course I did. You have to bring it up. Edge started it. He betrayed him. He eliminated him. And, Edge is not a saint, and so the Viper has to come in and say, hey, I'm not just a cold-hearted man. I'm retaliating for the action that you took. You started this. If you didn't want none of that smoke, then you didn't have to toss me over the...
None of that smoke. Look at you.
That's right. I'm heavily influenced by Street Profits.
Street Profits.
Dude, they were good, too, in the Rumble with their promo work and their stuff. And
they're fantastic.
But you know what? And now thinking about it, we need to see more Kelly. She needs to be a valet for someone. Kelly came back.
She comes back for spots, man.
Exactly.
I think one of the biggest botches we've ever seen.
Now, look, okay, the more you see it, if we interview MVP, does he say that he was trying to elude the 619 and that was intended, that he gets the back of it to the spine? Because the more the times you watch the GIF, the more awful it looks, is that MVP gets another match and he gets the full entrance, which was cool. Back in Texas, they're doing their thing. He's going to fight Rey Mysterio, and... yeah, it's an okay match, but these are two dudes in their 40s, and you're like, what is this? Is this like main event right now on Raw? Well, okay, you know what it is. It's like, hey, we need some bodies because these guys are all hurting from the road. Yep. Let's get some old timers. So we get MVP and Rey Mysterio having an okay match, but then MVP goes down for the 619, and all of a sudden he flies out like he was kicked by the 619, except there was no Rey yet.
It was like super early.
Yeah, but I think in real time it played better because the announcer said, oh, he got the back of it. You still executed. And they're like, wait, this is the most unique 619 ever. But I feel bad because I hope it was just intended to be a one-off. If MVP was auditioning for his time in the ring with the WWE is going to be over. Hopefully it's just like, hey, we needed a body. Thank you, MVP, for the Royal Rumble. I think really, too, the pop that he got was noticed because people were like, MVP in the Rumble. And people were like, wait a minute.
Dude, he was a big deal when he wrestled for WWE.
He was a big deal. But not to the level of like, okay, get another opportunity. Dude's old. He's he's the same age as Edge, though, 46.
Yeah.
So that was a bad botch.
619 was so not
that was bad.
Epic.
So we're gonna call it a botch?
Yeah, I'm calling it a botch.
That was
I think he came off the rope way too early. I don't know. I think maybe he was afraid of getting hit by it.
Yeah.
And he ended up selling a kick to the back, which was
then
a good cover, but I think the best thing about that whole thing was the position of the camera.
Yeah, perfect.
Because the camera was in the lower left-hand corner.
Yeah.
So it was kind of shaded. Like, I don't know if he even got kicked in the back.
Right.
Like, because if you just kind of look at it, we'd have to be scientists here to really measure everything out to make sure he got kicked in the back, but I don't think he did. So, he sold it, which is cool, but...
And nowadays, in 2020, with everybody's ability, everyone just screen grabs everything. All they got to do is DVR it, rewind it, tape it on their phones, and they can make GIFs within 20 minutes.
Yep.
And anytime you see a bad spot, a botch, you're going to see it in GIF form, and that one's going to live in infamy.
Forever.
Botch Fest MVP. Come on, man. All right, music was good. Good to hear.
Yeah, the music is great. So real quick, before we transition into NXT and AEW, Drew McIntyre challenges Brock Lesnar, which I was totally expecting.
That's going to be awesome.
Everybody knew this, right? Is this a match that Drew McIntyre has to win? Does he have to beat Brock Lesnar?
Yes, he does. You now establish him. He's paid his dues. If you lose that, you've now erased his character. He's got to basically start over.
Yeah.
He has to have his WrestleMania moment. He has to get paid off. He has to get rewarded for all the years of hard work. And everybody that talks about him, all the former wrestlers say, Drew McIntyre is a blueprint of what Vince likes.
Yep.
Tall, big, handsome, reliable, someone that paid his dues, somebody that everybody in the locker room respects. Everybody has a nice thing to say about Drew McIntyre, as you can tell by the outpouring of support. And the dude's cool. The dude is believable as the heavyweight champ. You don't think you'd like to see Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton with titles on the line?
Cuts a good
Edge,
promo. Yeah,
AJ Styles
fantastic.
again. Yeah, exactly. You can now have Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins. The potential limitless opportunities to put this guy in bigger, hyped matches is limitless. And I think that's the reason why. Because you can't, in 2020, recreate what you did in the past decade, which is have a major title being defended once every 4 months. It doesn't work that way. I think that's what now Brock Lesnar is transitioning into is, hey, have your moments for extended runs, you get your time off, and then you put the people over. And look what he's done. Seth Rollins, the people that, Roman Reigns. Don't you believe there are bigger characters now as a result of being with Brock Lesnar? That's what his value is that, yes, he gets this, run and a lot of attention for his lack of a schedule, but dude earned it. And you don't get to see these guys raise their level if you don't have the Brock Lesnar who's believable and respected enough to say, hey, the next guy you do that to is Keith Lee. If you really want to kind of take it to SummerSlam, you should have Keith Lee cost Brock Lesnar the title, where it's not like, okay, maybe it would cheapen it, but you still get the moment. Maybe Brock is heavily dominating Drew, and then all of a sudden Keith Lee does something, and then the match goes on for another 10, 15 minutes where you can kind of establish or start to establish Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar. That's money.
That would be sweet.
But do you think it's too soon in this year, or you say maybe next year's WrestleMania, Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar? Those two have to fight. Wait out another year?
Yeah, I would probably wait out. Like I'd have like a year-long build with it. Why not?
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
Yeah.
Keith Lee can keep working in NXT. Brock Lesnar keep doing his thing in WWE on Monday Night Raw, and you can just have crossovers with them because obviously you can go up or down. So I think that'd be fantastic. I really do. Another special moment in the Royal Rumble was Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar. I thought that was really, really cool myself.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move over to NXT real quick. Ciampa basically is down in the ring and essentially calls out Adam Cole. I think we're going to get a dream match here. Can we refer to it as a dream match?
Yeah, and the funny thing this week that I did peek into NXT on the DVR. I watched AEW live and NXT on the DVR. It just seems like the crowd there at Full Sail was cheering everything. There was no heels. I was like, wait a minute. Isn't one of these guys supposed to get booed? And there was none of that. It was just kind of like, yeah, we got Ciampa. Yeah, we got Cole. And then you got Finn Balor and, the dude Trent Seven, and they were doing their thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm kind of thinking the way that Finn Balor was introduced, wasn't he supposed to be a heel? I thought, but they were just like eating up everything he was doing. And so the crowd there's like...
The Full Sail crowd is different.
Yeah, they're different. And it's like, but it takes away from the show because all they're doing is cheering. And you're like, there's no heel, there's no booing, it's just a ruckus crowd that's just into everything. And it's good. The one thing that I'll say that I can kind of start to notice is the wrestling is a lot crisper on NXT. The matches are tighter, succinct. You can see the WWE influence on all these wrestlers. They're all tight. Like, okay, technical moves, stories, boom. AEW, a little bit more of an emotional investment going on, a little bit more of a hype and stuff like that. But the wrestling, in terms of the mid-card, not as crisp, meaning a little bit more of herky-jerky nature of like the in-ring chemistry. Like in NXT, anybody having matches with anybody, it feels like they're not going into the ring unless they're crisp and tight. And you see the difference. But overall, still, AEW, you just care about way more. NXT is more niche, more along the lines of, hey, hardcore wrestling fans that love wrestling and really love the pure excitement of watching competitors do their thing. It's at NXT. But AEW provides something different, which is more of the pomp and circumstance and the party-like atmosphere that the crowd had. It's more energetic. It's just a different show that appears noticeably different than NXT.
Why do you think that is? Is it because
5,000 people versus 500?
No. Well, I mean, you do have that, but I mean, you're also talking about
you got bigger stars, top-end stars.
Listen. You compare NXT to Monday Night Raw, or you compare it to SmackDown, and you're going to go with the NXT crowd over those two all the time. So now you're comparing it to the AEW crowd, and you're saying that the AEW crowd seems a little bit more hype, a little bit more, like you said, party atmosphere. Why is it? I think it's a little bit because of what the product is. The AEW product is not as scripted. It's a little bit more off the cuff. You're not necessarily sure what you're going to get every single time. You know, we had a main event where the Inner Circle took on Private Party and Darby Allin, and you can argue that two of the biggest stars in this match were one, Darby Allin, and two was what's his name? Orange Cassidy. You could argue that those were two of the biggest stars in this match, and you're in a match with Chris Jericho, who is your title holder. You know, and Chris Jericho has done it from here to China and everywhere in between, and he's won just about every damn belt you could have. Yet it's these two unknown indie stars who the crowd gravitates to, and the crowd is more invested in. So I think it's the way AEW presents the wrestling, and it's the style that they present. I mean, in this match, I think it would have been great to see Private Party and Darby Allin win this, because it would have helped accentuate where they're at and where they're going. But all that being said, the crowd is still behind them and still invested in them. So I think it's, honestly, I really do believe it's just kind of the way it's presented and the way the fans kind of eat it up, really and truly.
No doubt.
All right, so we've got to give a point to somebody. So is it going to Monday Night Raw, which I think had a better show? SmackDown was kind of weak. NXT was good, and I think AEW was pretty good as well. So where do you want the point to go?
See, for me, in terms of kicking off major feuds, I give it to Raw. I felt like the last segment was just at the level of some of the best you're ever going to see. In terms of storytelling, in terms of getting involved, in terms of now reestablishing Edge quickly right back into the mix. So for me, Raw gets the week.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you. I thought this was probably one of the best Monday Night Raws we've had in a little bit of time, and especially following up and tying the Royal Rumble into everything, and to close it out with Edge, and Edge announcing his return, and the whole storyline with Randy Orton, I think, is fantastic.
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What we got?
At the Royal Rumble, we had what was being deemed a bit of a dust-up between Brock Lesnar and the King of the Bros in the backstage area. Apparently, it wasn't as heated as originally reported. It seems Brock Lesnar walked up to Matt Riddle and grabbed his shoulder to get his attention, and he said, "Kid, you might as well stop saying my name and tagging me in shit, because you know I will never work together with you, ever." Riddle was his usual calm, cool, composed self, and the tension really never boiled over. Samoa Joe apparently suffered a concussion on Monday Night Raw during the tag team match against Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. This guy is so injury-prone at this point in his career. It is absolutely insane. WrestleMania rumors are Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, so we might get what I want anyways. That is reportedly the plan for this year's WrestleMania. United States champion Andrade has been suspended 30 days for violating the WWE wellness policy. The company announced that Tuesday. That was the whole purpose for the, I think it was a hammerlock DDT onto the outside where Carlillo kind of took him out. So they're going to write him off TV for 30 days. He'll come back in February or at the end of February, and then they'll continue what they're doing, and they'll probably roll over into WrestleMania. Andrade, again, was seemingly written off TV on Monday's episode. So you'll kind of have to just wait until next month to kind of see where they're going to pick up with this storyline. According to Alex McCarthy of TalkSport, Edge signed a 3-year, $9 million contract that is guaranteed if he takes part in at least 3 matches per year, though he is tentatively currently scheduled for 5 matches and 25 total appearances in 2020. So Edge is going to be with us for the long haul, man. As long as his health holds up, he's going to be here for at least 3 years. And it's been rumored and speculated that Luke Harper will be debuting for AEW on March 8th. Brody Lee is I believe what his indie wrestling name is. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes in as that and kind of what they do with him. Could have a lot of fantastic matches. Me and you were talking pre-show, and there's only like one match you can really remember him having that was exceptional, and it was his match against Randy Orton. And he showed you a ton. He got himself in great shape, showed you a bunch, but never really got the push from WWE, was never really utilized correctly. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when he goes to AEW And hopefully it works out fantastically for him and for the rest of us as wrestling fans. And that's this week's Wrestling News and Notes.
Great podcast. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Make sure you go and support the sponsors of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. And a great sponsor that we've worked with for quite a bit of time is the Flick Chat application. What is Flick, you ask? Well, when we're talking about wrestling, Adam and I and a bunch of wrestling fans will head on over to Flick and we'll debate the angles. We'll talk about NXT versus AEW. We'll review Raw, Smackdown. We'll talk about some of the surprises, share botches. It's a great group chat application where you can go have a good time and you can check out all the things in regards to Detroit sports as well. Meaning that you create your own forums. It's a great group chat application where you can create forums, have debates, and create your own topics. So you're in control of the user experience, and it's a great spot to get into. So Adam and I really love it. You can even listen to your favorite podcast right there directly via Flick. All you got to do is head on over to your favorite app store, download Flick Chat. When you download the application, find that little plus button, and to join our group, all you got to do is type in all lowercase DSP, and within seconds, you're in the group, create your profile, and you can start chatting and getting into it and mixing it up. Flick Chat, a great sponsor of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Great podcast, sir. Look forward to talking to everybody again, breaking it all down in the world of professional wrestling on the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.